to be showing the form of how to do body parts, a torso, adding your legs, doing some muscle tone on them, doing little tiny hands. So showing how to start the base of it and work the fingers out and how to position them. It's easy to make somebody just straight. I mean, it's pretty simple. You just weld stuff on and try to keep everything proportionate. Doing things in motion or in a position is very difficult. You have to think about how parts are going to cross, how they're going to connect, where it comes off of the hips or the shoulder areas, where the bend is in the elbows, the knees, positioning of feet, how they're going to, if they're going to hang, if they're going to cross, if they're going to tuck in to anything. So you have to really think about process of which parts to put on, you know, after you make it, and while you're making it, how to get that perfect angle so when you put it on, it's pretty much done. You don't have to mess around with it a lot. It's going to be on this rocket that's a plasma-filled rocket that's going to be incorporated with flowers, just kind of like earthy stuff. There's going to be vines and leaves all over, so a bunch of us are making different leaves, which I got to do after I finish this guy. So see what kind of vine stuff you're gonna do. So I kind of have an idea of what I want to do for some. I see what Nate's doing. We decided that doing a shop project, we haven't done one yet. We've collabed between each other with, you know, pretty much everybody in here has done work together, but we've never done a big piece all together. And Aaron's been wanting to do some more plasma work, so he initially had this rocket idea forever ago that was like this cool light bulb. He's coming back to that idea. He's seeing more and more people doing the plasma stuff, but he's one of the first guys doing it in boro. So he's trying to get back into that, and this is the best way to get everybody involved in the shop, you know. Sounded like a great idea, so I jumped on board right away. So right now I'm gonna make some bottom parts to this, and I know I had that at roughly 8 mil round because I had punnied up with an 8 mil and it was 1.5 inches long. So I'm gonna try to make a similar piece right here. It can be a little bit longer, but I don't want it to be too much shorter. It's easier to pull away excess glass than it is to add more to it if you need it. So I'm gonna take an 8 mil, try to get about the same size the last one was. That is 1.5 inches. So anytime I'm checking like this, I'm seeing which is the longer one. So I need to make the one with the shorter one first, and then I can always pull away off the longer. Pull that excess glass off of there to make it match. How long is that going to be? That's going to be 1.5 inches. Alright, those look pretty damn even. I'm not going to put them together yet. I'm going to start making part like prep for the arms, because I still have to really look at it and visualize like how I want to position it before I start putting the arms and legs together. Best thing about my job. Get to drink and smoke and do whatever the fuck you want while you're working. You are your own boss, just like you are. Blowing glass is like one of the easier parts of what I do. Taking care of Doing the business side of glass can be pretty stressful. It's the marketing, the business, invoicing, the keeping track of who's got what, what's going where, all the shipping. I could do it all by myself, so it's a lot of work. So I obviously don't need as big of pieces for the arms. When I first started doing sculpture stuff, I always made parts the same size. And it seemed like the arms and legs always looked to be pretty much the same size, which is not real. So I try to be more proportionate with stuff now and really think about it before I do it. It just comes naturally after doing this for a while. So an easy way to get a smaller size is without having to think too much is just to add a smaller size punny. It lets you visualize your diameter. So if I were punnied off at 8 right now, I'd probably be making it too big. And so since I didn't have any pre-made, I'm going to do this how I normally do, where I make enough to hopefully make 2 arms. All right, so these are going to be like the top part of the arm area. And then these are the thighs, and the top, the top part of the legs. So you can see they're not quite like half the size, or maybe a little over half the size. But if you look at it and visualize in your head, seeing these coming out of the side up here and these coming down out here, you can see that it's going to be pretty proportionate for the body size. And I don't know if these are going to be big enough for the bottom part of the arms. Might only be able to get one out of it. Should be fine. this gonna be long? All right, so these, taper them down first. So I try to leave any bottom part of like an arm or leg on a longer punny. So when I go to put them together, I can position and cut this off right here and then bridge from here to there so it doesn't get really hot on my hand and I can have more control over it. So they're pretty close to the same size. One's a little skinnier there. It's okay because I can, once I weld this on, if there's anything I don't like, I can always add to it a little bit, especially if I'm going to add like muscle tone detail. Like when you add for a bicep, you're going to be adding more glass to it. So these are the same as the bottom part of the legs. Is you want to try to be pretty close in size. I can see one of these is a lot bigger, so I might go back through and taper it down a little bit. But being proportionate, I'm trying to, once again, be not really half, but a little over half on the arms compared to the legs. Took a little off both ends to bring them closer. That looks a lot closer. I need to figure out exactly how I want to position this guy, so I need a piece of paper. All right, so roughly less than a 60-degree angle. I'm gonna try to do where his legs are like crisscross applesauce, because we want him to look more like he's chill instead of like usually I make my goblin dudes pretty aggressive. They're always in like a kill stance or with a weapon in their hand. Talked about it earlier, doing something where he's holding either something like this or where he's sitting there, you know, where he could have his hands in where he's praying and one up his nose and in his ear. I don't know. My main thing is to get the legs positioned properly. One of the last things I do is I put the arms on and then I start doing hands and feet. Once you get the arms positioned right and the legs positioned right, are pretty damn easy. It's like you got this leg here and then all you have to do is weld on the foot, bridge up to it to something, do that little weld, pull it off, done. You got these two structures here, so I kind of want him to have a little bit of space in between each one, so he looks like he's just floating. We're gonna try to weld off his back somehow. So I'm gonna try to figure out if I can get him positioned in there really nice and have this look good. I've done crossed legs before, but usually only like the bottom part of the leg. So I'm gonna try to get it more closer towards the ankle. Keep him looking comfortable. I'm gonna take this as the thigh, and this is gonna be my calf area, and I'm gonna position so like here's your 90, you know, here's you're going out towards your 110, 120s. I am going to have him sitting cross-legged, so he kind of needs to be in a little bit. So when I go to put him on the body, I can position the weld to where he sits like that, and the other leg will sit like that and just go right in front of it like this. So there will be this gap, so I can put the foot on here and put the foot on there. Just get that nice and warm. Get just the top part of the bottom of the leg. Get just the top part of that worm, the bottom side of this. And you're gonna stick the two together and start to position, thinking about how wide it is here, how far your angle is here. If you feel like you're losing any distance here, like it's getting too short, you can always add more, like adding a kneecap. So I prefer to do it like this, where the calf comes into the knee, and then I can just come and I can add a horn or a kneecap and sculpt that into it, and it always adds a little further out. It'll end up coming out to about here. I get that tagged on, disconnect this punny, leaving a little bit of room. I'm going to carefully weld this to here. I don't want to get it too hot because it will start to move on me. Anytime I'm doing a bridge and I feel like it's going to get, like, it's really thin here, so if I get it too hot, it's just going to want to fall. So just like with any of the other welds, I want to spot weld it. Let it cool down a bit before I move on to the next part of the spot. Knowing that I have two areas to weld right now. I have to weld where I connected for the knee to the thigh, and I have to finish up the bridge. So I'm going to go ahead and do, while this is cooling, I'm going to start to weld side of this. Basically, I'm going to bounce top to bottom, side to side. Then I get my bridge secured. At the same time, I'm welding the leg together. As soon as my bridge is secured, I don't have to worry about it. I can just weld and shape that weld in. Some more in there. All right, the bridge is secured, so I can just go ahead and move on to the front part of the leg. And there's a little lump there from where I connected it together. If I were doing calf muscle detail, I would leave that because it would actually flow into the side of the calf more. But this one, I'm not going to do calf detail. I'm just going to do a little bit of lines. So I'm going to make sure that this goes in straight. I want it to be flushed. So just know if you get this area too hot right here, it will start to move in or out. So try to avoid that. I can see it was starting to want to move in a little bit, so I'm just going to keep the heat away from that, and I'm going to concentrate more on shooting the heat this direction, keeping it away from there. It's that incandescent heat you don't think about all the time that can screw up everything. Okay, so it looks pretty good, positioning and everything. And I think that when I weld them on, once I have both of these, I can crisscross them, welding it onto the bottom part of the ball. But what I want to do before I end this is I'm going to put a horn on his knee, because I like to give him a little protectors. So you just make a little marble, come from the bottom side of it and start to pull down and out. Done. Now that's done, I can take the bridge off, clean up the hip area, and like basically if you feel like you don't have enough glass there, like if you feel like it's still too short, you can add, this is where you can add to it. You don't want to stick it on the body and realize that it's too small then. So anytime you get to this point, you just clean it up, see where you're at, take it over to the body, visualize what you want to do with it, and see if that's going to work. If not, fix it now. Don't try to wait till later. All right, so it looks like he's going to fit really well. Like it's got a perfect length here. It's a little big in the area here, so after I put him on, I'll probably pull a little bit of that out and end up tearing off just a little bit down here, just for size proportion. I'm going to keep this one here, so when I put the next one together while it's cooling, I can check it with this one to make sure they're the exact same position. For this one purpose, I'm going to put one out. Like I'm going to get it to that point and then bend it out just a little bit, because one leg has to come over the other one. So I need that leg, the positioning on the hip to be pushing out just a hair more. So I got it the same, so now I'm just going to put them out just a hair. And I think that will bypass him when I go like this to cross him after he's on the body. This one will actually go over it like that. So you can actually draw the weight right into where you need it just by drawing with the flame. And every time I push like that, it's pushing the weight towards that tip of that knee. So double check them before I get too far. It's really fucking close. I might have to bend him out just a hair more. One thing you can also do if you don't bend the knee out is you can do it when you weld it onto the body. You can just weld the hip in a little different position. Actually, I got to get them both in the kiln. Normally I would have the bottom off the guy already, and since it was warm I'd just stick it right on, but what I need to do is I need to clean up the torso, and then I can come back and stick this on as soon as I get the torso done.